and welcome to Python programming tutorial. Today we'll be understanding various operations that we'll be applying on lists and tuples. So let's get started with lists and its operations. These are the various operations we'll be applying on list. To begin with, the first one we have is creating a list and printing its values. Adding element in the list, inserting the element at a specific index, removing an element for the list, concatenation, repetition, iteration, and knowing the length of the list. So all these operations we'll be applying on the list while we program. So let's create a list first. So I give my list a variable as L is equal to, giving a square bracket, I write my list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and closing the square bracket. Now 1 is at index 0 and 5 is at index 4. So index is 1 minus of the total value. We start with 0 and n minus 1 value. So here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is the length of index. This is how I am going to create a list. Now if I want to print my list, I will write so this is what I get when I write print L. When I write print L, I get 1, 2, 3 as the entire list has been printed. Now suppose I want to print a specific value. For example, I want to print value 4 from my list. How will I do that? I will write print space, give the name list, whatever the name of my list is, and enter the index of that whatever value I want to print specifically. So my 4 lies at a position 0, 1, 2, 3. So I give the index as 3. I get my answer as 4 here because my 4 number is at index 3. Now this is how you will create a list and print a list and print a specific value as well. Now let's add an element in the list. For that I will now switch on to, instead of numbers, I will switch on to colors. Let's create another list. List 1 is equal to, let's add the colors, green, yellow, blue. So these are the colors that I've added in my list. Let's print the list once. So these are the colors. Now suppose I want to add white in my list. For that we use a function known as append. I'm writing here, if you do not understand, it's append. This is the function that we'll be using. So I write here list 1 dot append, and I want color white in my list. Alright, so I write here append and then I print my list again, list 1. So I've added green, yellow, blue and white. Now mind you, whenever you are appending a list, that is adding a value, it will be added at the end of the list. Now if you want to add a number or suppose a color in between my list, I will use the function that is insert. So let's use that also. I am writing insert list 1 dot. Now first I'll write the index. Suppose I want to add it at one position, so index 1. So I write 1 and I add red, and then I again print my list. I've got green, red, yellow, blue and white. So this is how I will keep on adding items, elements in my list. Now I want to remove blue from my list. So what will I write? List 1 dot remove and give the value that is to be removed, that is blue. And then I will print my list, and again you can see that the list with blue is not here. Now the next thing that we're going to do is concatenate two lists together. So let's create two lists. Let's create two lists here, L1 as 1 2 3 4, and then we create another one that is L2, which has values 5 6 7 and 8. Now let's concatenate the two lists in L1. So I write L1 plus L2. So in order to submerge or merge two lists together, we use plus sign. Now I print my L1, which becomes 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 8, which becomes 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and also see if there is any change in list 2. It remains the same. So this is how you will concatenate the list. Now suppose if you want to repeat the same list again, how will you do that? Let's do it in L1 is equal to, now for repetition we use asterisk. So we want to double our L1, so we do this and print L1 again, and we get till 8. We got the list, the original list, and then we got the another L1 list added to it. Now let's apply iterations in our list, that is we create loops inside our lists. Now let's create a list 1 2. This is our list that we've created. For I in L1 print I, and this is what we get as our list in the form of, by applying for loop here, and this is how we iterate our list. Now let's find out the length of our list. For that we use the keyword len, print length of L1, and we get 7 as our answer because the total length of our string is 7. So this concludes our operations on lists. Now let's move on to tuples and let's see what all operations we can apply on tuples. Like lists, we add tuple in the same way. Let's create a new tuple. I give my tuple the name T, and this time I'm using parentheses instead of square brackets. and this is the tuple that I've created. Now let's print our tuple, and this is what we get. If I want to print a specific value, I will write print d and I get the answer green because that is located at position 1. Now how will I change the values in tuple? Now changing values in tuple is not possible because tuple being immutable, so the values cannot be added or cannot be changed. But there is a way around to do that. We can still change the values in a tuple, but we cannot add any value no matter how we try it. So let's try changing the value in the tuple. Let's create a tuple again. This is my tuple that I've created. Now let's add in the value. How will we do that? Let's convert our tuple into a list by then now whatever value you want to add, you write it in your list, that is L, wherever index you want. Probably I want 2, and then add white in it. And once you've added in your list the value, you then convert the list into a tuple again by writing now let's print a tuple. And now that you can see that I've added white place of 2, that is green. So this is how I will add my element in it. Now let's check what is the length of our tuple and how do we do that. Again, the same keyword, that is len, will be used. So print len t, and we get 3 as our answer because we have 3 elements in it. Now the next part, that is adding the values in a tuple, we cannot do that. We still tried changing the value from green to white. We cannot add whatever value you want. Now let's try removing items from a tuple. Removing the items from the tuple, it is again not possible because tuple is immutable. You cannot change the values, which also includes removing the values. You cannot do that, but you can delete the entire tuple by writing the keyword del, that is del. You see, you most recent last call, you cannot, t is not defined because we've already deleted t here. So this is how you will delete. Now the last part is joining two tuples. So let's create t1 and another tuple. How do we join that? Again, just like list, we will join our tuples together this way with addition sign. And this is how you join two tuples, just like we joined our lists together. So this is it for today's video. I hope you've understood all the concepts. Tomorrow I'll be telling you more about string, set and dictionary.